We are live. Okay. I'd like to call to order the October 9th meeting of the Truckee Town Council. Judy, could we have the roll, please?
Mayor Wallace D.
Here.
Vice Mayor Tierman.
Here.
Councilmember Abrams.
Here.
Councilmember Goodwin.
Here.
Councilmember Flora.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Tom Ravey, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. This is the time for public comment. If you would like to address this body on any issue not on tonight's agenda, please step to the microphone, state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, we will close public comment. And we have a couple of presentations tonight, so I'm going to step over here to the podium. This first one is sort of bittersweet for me. Most of you know that I am dealing with oral cancer right now, so cancer's on my mind, but if there was any doubt, tonight is about breast cancer, and pink is our color. So I'd like Larry Heifetz to join me, and for those of you who have never met Larry, Larry developed, founded, built, whatever you want to call it, our cancer center. And 20 years ago, I went to advanced breast cancer in the Bay Area. I beat it, so I'm beating this one too. And I can tell you, now that I have a reason to use our amazing cancer center, there's nothing like it in San Francisco. I wish I had had these services when I was going through breast cancer, and I am so thankful that I have them now. And what you've done is absolutely astounding to me. And now he's going to retire, which we're not going to allow.
Thank you.
But we want to make a presentation to Larry on behalf of the town, on behalf of the Cancer Center, and whereas October 2018 is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 13, 2018 is Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day, and October 19th is National Mammography Day. And whereas breast cancer is the most common kind of cancer in women, and about 1 in 8 women born today in the United States will get breast cancer at some point, and breast cancer is the #1 diagnosed cancer at Tahoe Forest Cancer Center. Whereas the good news is that many women can survive breast cancer if it is found and treated. Well, in my case it was late, but we won anyway. A mammogram and a screening test for breast cancer can help find breast cancer early when it's easy to treat. And whereas the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month is a chance to raise awareness about the importance of early detection of breast cancer and make a difference by spreading the word about mammograms and encourage communities, organizations, families, and individuals to get involved. And whereas mammography is recognized as the single most effective method of detecting breast changes that may be cancer long before physical symptoms can be seen or felt, and Tahoe Forest Hospital District will perform over 2,800 screening mammograms and 320 diagnostic mammograms this year. And whereas women may receive screenings and mammograms at no out-of-pocket costs if covered by commercial insurance, Medicare, or Medi-Cal, now therefore be proclaimed by the Mayor of the Town of Truckee that October 2018 is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October 13th, 2018 is Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day. And October 19th, 2018 is National Mammography Day in and throughout the Town of Truckee. And I do encourage all Truckee citizens to participate in proactive health screenings and get a mammogram. That means men also. Larry?
Thank you very much, Carolyn.
Would you like to say something, please?
Sure. I'll say a couple things.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, we've had a cancer program now for about 12 years, and it's been much more successful than we ever thought it was going to be. And yes, it's in about another 9 months, I'm no longer going to be the medical director. I'm going to just be playing in blues bars and hanging out at the Roundhouse down over here. But in the meantime, I want to give you a little biology course and what we've done recently. We had 2879 screenings for those are women off the street getting a mammogram because they're supposed to get a mammogram. That's up about 12% over last year. We had diagnostic studies, which is the mammograms picked up an abnormality that the women had to go back for a second mammogram. Okay? The abnormality wasn't necessarily breast cancer. It was just an abnormality that required further investigation. That's called a diagnostic procedure. There were 324 of those. That's actually a 10% drop from the year before. So how does that make any sense? You guys helped us buy a much more sensitive 3D mammography machine. So we now have less false positive abnormal mammograms, a lot more specificity with getting the right information out of the mammogram. That's a great thing. The statistic of 1 in 8 women in the United States is nothing to laugh about. It's a very real statistic. The fact is that mammography is essentially free, and there's really no excuse not to get it, because it's just such a difference when you can make this diagnosis early versus when you can't. Okay, I want to thank you on behalf of all my partners and everybody at the Tahoe Forest Cancer Center. We really appreciate everything this town has done for itself and for us. Thank you very much. Sure.
Be careful there. Bad stuff. Okay, our next presentation is very bittersweet. I'm going to let Dan lead off on this one, and then we'll take it from there.
Thanks, Mayor. This item is related to Tom Ravey. Tom's been an icon here at the town. He's been with us for 17 years, and he's retiring effectively next week, Friday. So, yeah, Pasita seems happy. There's a lot of other people that aren't quite so happy about it. As I mentioned, Tom started with us in May of 2001. His first position here was as a street maintenance worker. He very quickly was promoted to a street maintenance supervisor and then became the street maintenance manager. For those who don't know, that position is the person that's most directly responsible for the day-to-day operations of the Public Works Department. All the summertime maintenance activities of striping streets and patching potholes and clearing brush and clearing drainages. Not the most glamorous work all the time, but work that's very necessary. And then in the wintertime, he kind of switches over into emergency responder mode about a dozen times a year when we get snow events here. And then it's a very dynamic operation to make sure that we get the personnel in here, that the equipment's running properly, and that the snow gets removed from the streets in a orderly and expeditious fashion. I remember Tom's first year here, his excitement at creating his first berm up on ski slope. I remember in 2016, 2017, which was a pretty big winter up here, walking into Tom's office after he'd handled about the 320th berm complaint of the storm, and he had that same level of enthusiasm, which says a lot about how Tom approaches his work and his life. I've never seen anything that Tom approached that he wasn't 100% in on, if it was something that he was interested in or that he was passionate about. He always puts the community's goals first in his decision-making process. There's lots of hundreds a week and thousands a year of small decisions that need to be made. And with each of those decisions, having what's in the community's best interest at the top of your mind, what's in the organization's best interest at the top of your mind. If that's if that's your philosophy, everything works well from there on down. He manifested that philosophy by placing a very high value on people, developing people, working with people, making sure that staff had adequate training, and also making sure that staff had adequate career development opportunities. The number of personnel issues we've had in the Public Works Department under Tom's management has been negligible, if non-existent. And that says a lot, because there's a lot of dynamic personalities, a lot of competing points of view, within a group of 20 people in the summer and 40 people in the winter. There's lots of opportunities for things to get off track if there isn't a strong leader at the helm of that whole operation. He's been a mentor to many people in the organization, myself included. He's got a great sense of humor. He's very personable. He's an okay musician. He's a crappy dancer. He really puts value on teamwork. He's done a lot to strengthen coordination between engineering and public works, and also between public works and finance, which there's actually a strong relationship there. A lot of personnel, a lot of seasonal employees that are being hired and laid off, and a lot of activity there. And anytime you've got one division that's in an operating function and another that's in an administration function, it's an opportunity for friction, sometimes. And Tom has always managed that, along with our partners in the finance department, to have that not exist, which is a very good thing. Tom's also served as a hearing officer for code enforcement appeals. So that speaks, in my mind, to the respect that he has in the organization to work outside of his normal day-to-day wheelhouse in a fair and impartial manner. He's a class act in how he approaches everything in life, whether that be managing our street maintenance, managing a monumental snow event, coaching his grandkids' basketball team, or teaching his granddaughter how to ski. He's made my job easy, and he's going to be missed. He thinks he's retiring. I saw the list Pasita has for him, and you may want to stick around, Tom. And he's just one of those guys that anytime, day or night, something that comes up, and that happens frequently, he can be counted on to show up to deal with whatever the issue is with a smile on his face. And he's usually got a couple of folks in tow that are his employees that he also dragged out of bed to go handle whatever the issue is, and they tend to have a smile on their face at the same time. So I think that says a lot about Tom, who he is, and the value he's provided to this organization for a long period of time. So I want to say thanks, Tom, and I wish you well in the next chapter of your life. But you're still here for another week, so we'll squeeze the last drops out of him. Yep.
Thank you, Dan. Tom, would you come join me, please? That's a pretty glowing recommendation from your boss. I mean,
Yeah,
wow.
if he knew he felt like that, I wouldn't have retired.
Oh, good. Okay.
No, that was a joke. don't
So
think-
if I don't give him this, does that mean he can't go? We can try.
No.
You are really, really going to be missed. You have been such an important part of this community and this town staff, and everything you've contributed it's phenomenal. But so this one's I'm not happy about. But in grateful appreciation and dedication of your service to the town of Truckee, 17 years. Wow.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You sure you don't want to change your mind?
Yeah, I am. I'm good.
Pasita, can we talk?
I think Riley and Octavia would be a little disappointed.
For you,
Oh, thank you very much.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We are going to see you around, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. And I think you wanted to say a few words.
I do.
Well, it's certainly a lot of mixed emotions. You put in your heart and soul into something for 17 years. It's always a little bit disconcerting to hang it up, but not that hard with the likes of Riley and Octavio coming up behind me. I'm so proud of them. Definitely a combination of joy right now of things to come with my wife Pasita, and sadness, missing all the folks and relationships that have been developed and forged over the years and in all departments, and a real sense of gratefulness. I can't express to you what an honor it is to serve your own community in which you live and have a direct effect on the quality of life of the folks that are your neighbors. I'd really like to spend just a moment to thank a couple mentors that I had, Dave Jacobson and Gunny Lindroth. Those two guys showed me the ropes over the years on handling snow removal and fixing roads. Dan Wilkins and all the department heads, just thank you so much for the constant support that you showed me over the years, going along with some of my wacky ideas, trying things out. We had a good time. And also town council and past town councils. Without you guys and providing the resources that the department needs, we wouldn't have been able to provide the high quality of service that the department's known for. So thank you so much for your support over the years. Additionally, my coworkers, for all the collaboration and support that you've shown me over the years, all the help. None of the success that Dan mentioned would not have been possible without the support of my coworkers. And one thing that I really have to mention is all the years of putting up with my super bubbly morning personality. You guys, I'm their morning cup of coffee, and it's pretty annoying sometimes, but they've put up with me over the years. And last but not least, my family, which you can see out here. We got a portion of them, just a portion of them here. You know, when you do what we do at Public Works, your family makes some sacrifices. Christmases and holidays, you know, we missed a few, but never did their support waver at all. Knew what the mission was and what had to get done and who had to go in. So thank you very much. Thank you for understanding my personal sense of service and coming along with me on that ride. And lastly, just thank you for your unending support and love over the years, family. I love you guys. All right. And I got my key, honey. Thank you. All right, thank you.
The town thanks the family as well for loaning us Tom for 17 years. I mean, he was amazing. But I want you to stay here, and we're going to open this up and let anyone on the council that would like to make a comment.
Uh-oh.
Take a shot.
Uh-oh.
Tom, just wanted to wish you the very best in your retirement and what lies ahead, and thank you as well for all of your service. We didn't know each other very well, but my impressions are as great as everyone else's of you, so all the best to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, not having been on council for multiple years, I didn't get to know you as well, but I appreciate, as a citizen of the town prior to being on council and as a council person, all of the effort that went into, or that continues to go into, taking care of.
Thank you.
Are you going to still play with the Byrne Brothers?
I hope so. They'll have me.
Yeah, I don't know what Dan says. I think you're a pretty good musician, too. on top of just being a really exemplary employee and really leader with the town. And as I've gotten to know you, I've gotten to even just seeing a crowd of people, I see your head sticking up above. It's like, okay, everything's good. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, I've been around town hall almost as long as you have, but you really will be missed, and I wish you and Pasita and the rest of the family all the best in your retirement. And hopefully you won't be a total stranger.
Thank you.
So good luck. Thanks.
And I have a question. Usually when we give the key to the town, that's what's on the plaque. I want to know if the golf clubs have anything to...
Yeah.
Let's see, is that something that maybe is a big
That's
deal in your
special.
life?
Yeah, it is a very big deal. I'm a golf freak.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wishing you the same success on the golf course that you've had at the town of Truckee. Well, you know, that's one day chicken, the next day feathers on the golf course. But it beats poke in the eye.
Okay.
All right.
Enjoy the golf course.
Yeah.
Come back and visit us.
All right.
We're going to miss you
All right,
so
thank
much.
All right.
I'm going to open this up to anyone in the audience who would like to wish Tom well. Please step up and give us your name and don't hold back. Aha.
Yeah, my name is Riley Morrison. I've worked alongside Tom, underneath Tom, and underneath Tom again for over about 15 years. And he's definitely been a mentor of my own through the years. His dedication to the job, would never miss a day, always there, always concerned about what the crew's activities are, and making a strong push to for the accountability of our department to the citizens of Truckee. And I think I benefited a lot from his knowledge and his spirit, and he'll definitely be missed around the department. And he took the department a long ways from kind of an old school mountain maintenance program to a kind of a more cutting edge department that's more tooled for the ever changing community that we see around here. And I think we're in a good spot due to Tom's leadership over the years.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Tom.
Anyone else? Come on, Pasita. You get him now. Congratulations. Up. Oh. Family secrets.
I actually just really wanted to stand up here because it was just like once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm just kidding. Gosh, what can I say about this guy? I'll save most of the really funny stuff for Friday night, but...
Why don't you tell the audience who you are?
Oh, sorry. I'm Tom's daughter, and I have also had the pleasure of working with him for a very long time. And I can tell you that the effort and all of the awesomeness that he brings here, he also does in our home. And you know, I really just wanted to touch on what he said about missing Christmas, because as our town changes, there's like new people coming in, and I just love, you know, when they have like gripes about snow removal and all that stuff, and they don't always get to see the stuff behind the scenes, like the kids that do miss Dad on Christmas because they're out, you know, removing snow for the rest of the town. And I just think I'm just honored to be your daughter, and I'm really proud of all the effort that you put towards this town and making it safe for everybody to drive around and to really school the next generation on what this town is about, and that's toughness and all that really cool stuff. I don't know what else to say. You're awesome. I truly just wanted to get up here and talk. No, I'm kidding. But you're welcome for, you know, letting me use my dad for the past 17 years. You rock!
Okay, Tom, you thought Dan gave you a good recommendation. That's even better. Anyone else? Okay, we will close this and move on. And Dan, I'm going to hand it back to you because I think there's more to this.
There is. Thank you. So now that we've gotten rid of Tom, it's my great pleasure to introduce our next street maintenance manager, Mr. Riley Morrison. Riley is another long-term employee of the town. He's been with us since 2004. He, like Tom, started as a street maintenance worker, was later promoted to a street maintenance supervisor, and will be a street maintenance manager as of October 21st, assuming he gets the rest of tonight's festivities handled properly. So, yeah, just kidding, Riley. Riley lives here in Truckee with his wife Kelly and 3 sons. One of his sons plays football. Riley helps coach the football team. He's got maybe the same son as a nationally ranked big mountain skier on telemark skis. His dad is the one who taught him how to telemark ski. Riley's a ripping skier for any of you who may not know that. He's a former ski patroller at Homewood, I believe. He was an employee of the California Tahoe Conservancy for a number of years. Brought a lot of knowledge to the town in the areas of erosion control and some things that we needed some work on at a very strategic time in the the development of the town and the Public Works Department. Don't mistake Riley's calm, laid-back demeanor with the fact that he's a really no-nonsense operator that holds people accountable and holds himself accountable. He's going to do a great job for us, and I'm looking forward to Riley making my job easier than what Tom did. So, and I don't know if you have any comments, Riley, or sure.
Just keep looking for an easier job.
Yeah, and then Riley's first. He doesn't officially become the street maintenance manager until October 21st, but he's being appointed for about a 2-minute stint right now, and I'll let you take it from there, Riley.
I really just applied for this job so I could sit over here in the staff section and talk in this microphone. No, all joking aside, thanks, Dan, for those words of encouragement. I have big shoes to fill, as everybody points out on a regular basis. So I take that seriously, and we'll be working to move the department in a positive and progressive manner for a number of years, for the second half of my career.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the next thing, I'd like to take this opportunity, since we have kind of a fluid, with Tom's retiring, we have some vacancies opened up. I get in the manager's job. Like to announce Octavio Martinez as the next street maintenance supervisor. Octavio's walking into his 17th year of service with the town of Truckee. He's been a senior street maintenance worker, which is kind of our lead position, officially for 3 years, although he's played that role even before we had a lead worker position. He would step up and take that leadership seriously, and has done an amazing job orchestrating a crew of people to get amazing work done for us out on the roadways. So he's also known for filling the bellies of the crew on a regular basis with his barbecue skills and cooking skills. He might have fed many of you at Diego's restaurant that he operated with his family for a number of years. So he's a valued member of the community, really engaged in the community. He responds as well to every call out I think we have. He'll respond himself or get people en route to take care of business. And really proud to have Octavio as the new street maintenance supervisor starting October 21st.
And if memory serves me correct, he won the employee rib cook-off a year ago, which I got to judge. I was still eating then. And he won. And they were good. Someone else remembers. Congratulations, Octavio. Would you like to say something?
Sure.
At the microphone, please, so they can hear you at home.
All right. I just wanted to say thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm really excited. 17 years, it seems like a long time, but actually we were talking this morning about it. Seems like, I'm not going to say like last year or 2 years ago, but I feel like, the saying that everybody says, or, you guys probably all know 'em, that when you love, what you're doing, it seems like, you never work a day in your life, and it's just the way I take day by day. So I'm really proud to be part of the crew and part of the team and part of this community also. So thank you very much, and congratulations, Tom. We're going to miss you a lot, and all the luck for your retirement, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. That concludes tonight's festivities, but as you can see, there's a couple more bounces of this ball, because now Octavio's position's open, and we're working on backfilling that, and then that might create another opening. So, yeah, we'll be back here in a month or so to let you know how the rest of it plays out.
Terrific. I would like to open all of these presentations for public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Congratulations to all three of you. Okay. Next is the consent calendar. 6.1 is the minutes of September 11th, regular and closed session, and September 25th, regular and closed session. 6.2 is solid waste ordinance update, second reading, rescheduled to a future Truckee Town Council meeting. 6.3 is establishing places for posting agendas, ordinances, and other town notices. 6.4 is a claim for damages against the town of Truckee. 6.5 is a contract to host compliance for transit occupancy tax related services. The clerk, Judy Price, has requested to pull 6.3. Would any member of the council like to pull any other item? Any member of staff?
6.5.
6.5? Any member of the public? Okay. Go ahead. I entertain a motion for 6.1, 2, and 4.
I'll move items 6.1, 2, and 4.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Judy, would you like to go first? I know you have a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The item before you this evening is an item to remove the Truckee post offices, both locations, from our legal posting requirement resolution. And this was recommended by staff. We have found the post offices locally to be unresponsive and that they're not posting our agendas. So I don't know if you've noticed at the bottom of every agenda, I'm supposed to sign that that agenda was legally posted. And I can tell you it was legally posted by means in which town staff could post it. It was not posted at the post offices. So we've asked the council to remove those 2 post office locations from the legal posting requirement in order to be legally compliant. So we had a request from one of our council candidates, candidate Tarnay, to find some additional locations to post the town's legal notices, and mostly it's agendas. We don't. We usually use the newspaper of general circulation for the notices. So we've looked into a couple of things. I know you'll recognize this. I know you've all stood out in front of Town Hall and seen our postings of our agendas and notices there. So the town legally we want to comply with requirements for posting agendas. But if council wants to move to increase the paper distribution of agendas to potentially get more people viewing them, we have a couple of suggestions. One is we had a number of our news rack spaces that have emptied out, most recently with some of the papers withdrawing from Truckee distribution. So we could do a pilot project and place some agendas into these locations, see if folks pick them up with their Sierra Sun to go to the coffee shop in the morning or not. So we can also take a look at posting. Actually, I wanted to share that currently we have posting empty locations at Coffee and Wagon Train, Jack's Diner, Marty's Cafe, and El Toro Bravo all have an empty space, at least one empty space available. I'm not recommending that we go to all 6 of these locations for up to 8 agendas last month and post them all. So, but I think running a pilot program to seeing if folks would actually pick up those agendas out of those positions might be worthwhile. In addition to that, we have a location that sees a lot of foot traffic that we have control over, and that's our animal shelter. And so in the foyer of that animal shelter, beyond these 2 doors, before the next set of 2 doors on the left-hand side, is a window set of locations that we could use static posting sheets to post our agendas in that location if we thought that that was valuable. So I do want to share, and I wanted to kind of show you our most frequently used location for our council agendas is actually our website. And we're pretty proud. By the way, we're proud of this too. So we have, lots of awards that came in. So if you're looking for the council agendas, it's relatively simple to find the entire agenda linked to all the items. Now we've added specific buttons that allow folks to comment directly on agenda items. Gets right to the town clerk, and we can forward those on to council members on any of these items. We're putting it before the discussion items and the consent calendars. All of these items are linked here, so that pressing on any of them opens up the staff report that council sees in the distribution of the agenda packet is all available online. So I did want to share that that's our most frequently used source. But so what I'd like to ask council this evening is I've put up 3 different potential recommendations. One is that you could move the resolution with no direction. The second is you could move that resolution and provide some direction to staff about where you'd like to, if you'd like to try pilot programs in any of those locations. And the third would be to continue the item to the October 23rd council meeting for a revised resolution. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Judy. Questions?
Well, since we're talking about it, a couple. What do you anticipate the staff cost might be to go out and physically deliver agendas to those newsstands?
Yeah, great question. We actually, and I think somewhere between 2008 and 2010, reduced the number of distribution points and copies just so that we weren't distributing paper where it wasn't necessary. We still deliver a physical copy of our agenda packet to 2 locations, one here at Town Hall downstairs, the other's to the library. And so going in on that route and posting some of these into kiosks or the animal shelter would be an incremental cost increase for sure, but it wouldn't be insurmountable. I think the effort in trying to figure out what locations would actually be valuable would be important before we just started blanketing the town with agendas. So.
And then secondly, have we ever talked to Rec and Park and PUD in particular, seeing if could email them a copy and if they might be willing to post since they also get a fair amount of foot traffic?
I am reluctant to depend on another jurisdiction's just as the post office with posting agendas. We posted 8 agendas last month alone, and some of them are multiple pages. And so to ask somebody else's employee that we don't have any control over to commit to that, to where I can sign an affidavit that said they committed to that, is a little bit challenging. So,
Might be an understatement, but thank you.
Again, while we're talking about it, an idea I've heard of other towns doing, which is actually more on the digital side, but I've heard of that staff would actually do the sort of slideshow presentations into a camera and post those kind of the Thursday before a council meeting, so that people didn't just have the ability to read the agenda, but could also kind of watch that, often more graphic, more informative, not more informative, sorry, more sort of delivered presentation. And I would just sort of pose that as a question of, is that something that would be interested to look into?
A question, Councilmember Goodwin. Would this be, you're saying the Thursday before?
Sort of when the
agenda comes out?
When the agenda's posted, that there'd also be more of a online multimedia component.
Yeah, that might be a bit challenging, because I think a lot of the presentations, the PowerPoint type presentations, the graphic stuff probably would not be done yet. The staff report is completed, but I know with a lot of the stuff, the PowerPoint show gets done Monday night sometimes. So that one, I think afterward, or Tuesday morning afterwards, I think it'd be quite easy to, post in arrears. I think I'd be a little hesitant to require that of staff. I mean, if they're available and we can do it, yes, but my guess is in many cases they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
The town does post all of the PowerPoint presentations that you see at council meetings. All the public comment that's received at council meetings are all posted on the website under the meeting date. There's a link there that says more additional information and public comment. Every one of the PowerPoints presented here gets posted to that, in addition to any comment that people provide to us.
And then the other question is related to, obviously an agendas change, and the posting date on Thursday is sort of required by law, but would there be any way to give the public more of a heads up a week or two in advance what topics might be in the forecast, understanding that forecasts change? And
interestingly enough, the law says 72 hours, and the town has always strived to do more than the minimum. So we post it Thursday for a Tuesday meeting, when we could have posted it a little later. The opportunity to tell people what might or might not be on the agenda can set up some false expectations that people are like, oh, I made my plans to be here and it didn't happen. So I think we're a little reluctant to share our hopes and dreams that we're going to get those done on those days. We really do shoot to make those deadlines for sure, but a lot of outside forces have impact on that, and setting people up, especially on controversial items, to think that they might be heard when they could be bumped off that agenda 4 and 5 times might be frustrating for folks. So we do share on Facebook and are trying to start other social media outlets when we post our agenda to say, hey, council's going to discuss this item, we think that might have public interest, onto Facebook with a link back to the agenda to see if we can provide a little additional information too. So
Internally, we have what we call the blue sheet that Judy and her staff prepare, which looks out literally 3 months. But the number of changes on the blue sheet is pretty dramatic up until, not quite Thursday, but we could probably, a week out, we could probably be pretty confident for the next meeting. But I am concerned, particularly for the controversial items, to, a lot of people make plans, or they say, I'm going to go there, and then it turns out it gets bumped another week or 2 weeks or something. But we could take a look at a kind of intermediate blue sheet that maybe just looks out, to the next meeting at least.
Jessica?
Just a quick one. Thank you for coming up with some creative solutions in a limited amount of time. If we did want to move forward with a pilot program, have you had a chance to consider what an appropriate time frame would be for a pilot program, like what we would be looking?
If we pilot, my recommendation would be to let's try some things and not change our resolution, and let's try some things and see what works first. And I thought, especially with the kiosk, putting them in the where the newspapers go, is to put a specific number that we know of each week in there and see, are any of them being taken out? How many? Which ones are we getting response on? So that we really know which ones are valuable and which ones would not be.
Okay, thank you.
David?
Yeah, I agree. This is a really good question, and I mean the goal is to reach as broad an audience as possible, right, in our community, and to get our information out in as efficient a way as we can. So, based on that, what is your sense? Do you think the website is the most effective way to do that? And you pointed out. When you had the image of the website up earlier, you can now submit comments. I noticed, I think this morning, that under the In the Spotlight section, the agenda was there as well. I hadn't seen that before. So there are other things that can be done in terms of the website to get the agendas to really pop out and reach as broad an audience as we can.
Right. I think the way websites are created, that In the Spotlight was our opportunity to get the agenda link right on the front page. That happened a few months back. The comment form just went live several meetings ago. The first meeting it went live, it was used. So it hasn't had a ton of use since then, but the meeting, when people want to comment, they're using that button, which was a great opportunity. I think Facebooking certain items that we think might have public interest, rather than just a link to the agenda, seems more effective as well. So my department tries pretty regularly to try something new, and we're not very good at telling everybody what we've done or what's available, but I thought I'd take the opportunity while I had you here for a couple of minutes to show you a couple of things that were new. So,
Thanks.
Just tag on to Jessica's question a little bit. I know that when we cut all of this back a while back, a lot of it was because of paper waste, and obviously we no longer get books like this every week. Trying to cut that waste back, cut uses back, cut the potential, if we put this out on the street, potential for litter, which I kind of am concerned about. But in asking for the pilot program, Jessica, I assume you're also looking maybe for a definition of how long. Are you thinking 3 months, 6 months?
I would think at least through the holiday season, I would think. So sometime into January, February.
So 3 months,
Maybe,
basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
And since we no longer have to get these books, what is a typical paper agenda?
So I don't think we're talking about distributing the entire agenda packet to these locations.
So we need to make that clear. It is just the agenda.
Yeah, we're talking the agenda. We're talking the agenda with information on where they can get more information.
So if people really want the information, they need to go then to the website to get the in-depth.
Or they can go to the library and see a physical copy, or they can come here to Town Hall and see a physical copy of the entire packet.
So you do the entire package at the library?
Yes.
And, well, obviously here, but just so people are clear in their minds that we're not talking about giving them the details that come off in the website. This is all 3 pages is all we're talking about, maybe 4, depending on how busy it is. Okay. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? We'll open this for public comment.
Hi, it's Susie Tarnay. Thanks so much for looking at this. As you guys know, I've been a proponent of local engagement, so I appreciate Judy looking into these alternatives. I think that's great. I'm so stoked. It's such a nice out-of-the-box option. I would hope to include a different place in the regulations if we can include the Humane Society there, just to have at least, we're losing the two at the post office, which haven't been posting regularly, but to try and keep that up. So I think that would be a great place if they would agree to do that, and keep a little bit of skin in the game because it's in the regulation. I understand we can't regulate other districts' employees or even private company employees, but we could still ask them if they would do it. If they are officially able to include it into a job description, that might be enough to ensure compliance on that. So if we don't ask, the answer is going to be no, but maybe we could just try. I would like to just put one little quick note in here. For that comment thing, when you translate the page into Spanish, the formatting gets a little wacky. That's all. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Susie.
Good evening. My name is Carmen Carr, and I'm in favor of doing a pilot program in regards to posting the agenda and also circulating the agenda through the different options that Judy suggested. But what is the ultimate goal here? Is it to gain more communal engagement and attendance? And is that really the way to solve that? Is that really how we will capture more community engagement and bring more people into the seats here for these meetings? And that is my question. Maybe posting it more prominently on the homepage of the town website a week before, or when we post it on Thursdays, would that be more engaging? And as well as on the social media platforms as well, having some kind of a lead-in sentence, come and join us, or your voice matters, please attend, something like that, I think might be more effective, because I don't know how many people will open up the boxes to pick up one piece of paper, and we definitely want to get away from paper or transmittals. So that is my comment. Thank you.
Anyone else? We'll close public comment. Discussion. Recommendation.
Well, I do want to just note that I think the last couple of years, and I'm sure there's a number of factors on this, but I think that the last 2 years have seen much higher participation in council meetings than my first 2 years on council. So I'm not sure how much that is, better public outreach, town presence, online, social media, et cetera. And I'm also really grateful that we're even bringing this up tonight, because I think it's an important topic. And I think the middle option here is clearly the direction we should go.
Patrick?
I guess my only real comment is that, you get right down to it, the agendas are really more of a legal requirement. The efforts that the town clerk's office makes to get the public more engaged is probably a different, it's not a legal requirement, but it's something that we've been focusing on for quite a while. We're constantly trying to come up with ways to get more of the public to attend, whether that's through social media. But the agendas are really more, they're informative, but they're more a legal requirement, particularly for the town clerk, who has to, those little details matter, where she has to sign off that they have in fact been posted. So be a little careful what we wish for and what those impacts end up being.
I'm not opposed at all to doing some type of pilot program for a limited amount of time to see if there really is a difference in the I guess the agendas that people are gaining access to, it feels like, at least in my day-to-day life, that we're really shying away from paper and people are going more electronic. I know in my business, we're trying to become a completely paperless office. Paper's kind of politically incorrect now. So I'm wondering if we can even build on this and maybe look at just putting links in some of the more common websites used in Truckee, the Moonshine Inc., or maybe have the radio station say, hey, there's a council meeting tonight, go to truckee.com to get the agenda. So that really, if the goal is more community participation and outreach, maybe not even having the seats filled, but having people reach out to us, because I know we often get comments just through email. It's nice to hear from the community. So also taking other creative ways that's not just putting the paper in the boxes.
David?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the trending in our society is to go electronic as much as we can, and I think to the extent that we can turbocharge our efforts via the website, via social media, et cetera. I think that's the way to go. I think most people are getting their news and their information via those avenues these days. That said, if there are some other areas where it makes sense to actually post a piece of paper, right, totally in favor at looking at that and going the route of some kind of a trial program there as well. But again, I think more of the emphasis should be on electronic media.
I agree with everything said. Absolutely focus on digital, electronic, social, whatever you want to call it, media that diminishes the use of paper for many reasons. Certainly to me, if we want to test some of these things, I'm willing to go along with that, but I would not want to put it in an ordinance, because that has to be certified that it's done, that she goes there, her team goes, every posting to 2 places, 5 places, whatever it is, that if we stick with the approved resolution that it is by electronic media except for the library and town hall, if we then want to test other things, we can do that, but certainly not in a resolution where it's mandated that we have to do it for state law.
Absolutely.
So that it would be my recommendation that we don't put any specific location, even the animal shelter, into an ordinance.
Yeah, I think the work on additional posting locations, to me that means let's see what works, let's see what's effective. I am not in
Don't
favor
put it
of.
in.
Well, I don't think there's, I mean, if we wanted to come back at a later date and there was some need to do that, great. But as long as it's working, I don't see any reason to add an ordinance.
Well, we would probably entertain a motion. David?
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the resolution and direct staff to work on additional posting locations and boosting social media as well, and electronic.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay. Morgan.
Relatively quick one on 6.5. I just wanted to, felt appropriate to at least comment on the fact that $97,000 is a large contract for us every year. And I was doing the quick math up here, but I was hoping that you could maybe say a few words about reminding us of what this service is paying for, and also the simple arithmetic of what that works out to per property or per rental.
Well, Kim is basking in the sun in San Diego at the American Planning Association conference. So Christy was kind enough to put some numbers together, so thanks for the heads up, Morgan, ahead of time.
Thank you. So we work with Host Compliance, and we've been working with Host Compliance this is our 3rd year working with them. We gave a little bit of history in the staff report about when we started working with Host. They essentially were a startup company to help monitor compliance with transient occupancy tax rules in lots of places. We were one of the first, in their first handful of customers, so we weren't sure how effective working with them would be, but we have found great success in achieving a high level of compliance working with them. Now they've got over 120 other cities and counties that they're working with. So what they're doing is a variety of things for us. They will monitor all of the listings that they find online at websites like Airbnb, VRBO, Flipkey. There's, I think, about 100 of those types of websites, and they monitor at least 50 of them for new listings that pop up in Truckee. Once they find a listing, they have to identify the address of that listing, which is a lot of data crunching and putting different sources of information together. And then they compare that to our list of folks that have registered to collect and pay transient occupancy tax with the town. So that in itself is of huge value, so that we can know that folks that are listing online are registered to collect and pay TOT. And then they also will provide analysis on, they call it rental activity monitoring. So they will analyze the activity on different listings and help us use data to ensure that our registered folks and our unregistered folks can be compliant with our rules in terms of transient occupancy tax. Any more? I can keep going.
Chrissy,
Oh,
can you give us a rough dollar figure of how much our TOT has gone up since we've contracted with them?
So we have, of all the numbers I pulled, I can tell you that we've gone from approximately 900 properties remitting tax pre-900 or less pre-host contract per fiscal year to over 1,300 remitting taxes. Our current registration log has approximately 1,700 properties. So back to your question on cost, if we extrapolate a cost per property, if you take the 97,000 for the 1,700 actively listed properties, we're at about $57 per property. And if you put that into just the actively renting, the people that are actually paying taxes because they've had rentals, it's about $75 per property.
Thank you. That's what I was curious about and wanted to sort of put out into the world a little further than just the consent item.
Any other questions? We'll open this for public comment. Seeing no one rushing, we will close public comment.
I would move item 6.5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Okay, our first presentation is going to be staff report and an update on the Truckee Tourism and Business Improvement District 2017-18 annual report. And I believe Hillary's going to start, and then we're going to move to Colleen.
That is correct. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Colleen is going to share lots of great details on what the Truckee Tourism Business Improvement District has been up to over the past year. Before we do that, I just wanted to run through a brief reminder on what this is and what council's role is this. Why are we here this evening? The Truckee Tourism Business Improvement District, or TBID for short, is a 2% self-assessment of all short-term lodging to be used to broaden the appeal of overnight visitation to Truckee. It's paid by and intended to benefit all short-term lodging, which means hotels, motels, and short-term home rentals in Truckee. And although the TBID assessment and the 10% TOT, or transient occupancy tax, are collected together, it's important to note that this is different than the TOT, which is the portion of tax that comes to town. This is a separate assessment that was voted in specifically to benefit the assessed properties. Oops, go back there. The TBID was approved in 2015 for a 5-year term, so we're in the first year of having a TBID here in Truckee. It was voted in by the assessed properties, and it was approved by council. And the Chamber of Commerce was made the Owners Association, which is a term used in the law for the TBID. So the Chamber Board of Directors was is in charge of the TBID's activities, and the Board of Directors appointed a TBID committee as a standing advisory committee to the board, and that TBID committee is made up of owners of assessed properties. So what is council's role here? While the Chamber Board of Directors is the Owners Association overseeing TBID's operations, your council plays an important role. The TBID assessment, first of all, is collected through the town's tax collecting authority. We do that collection, and then we pass that money along to the chamber. The council council approval was required for the TBID formation and would be required for any future renewals. Council approval also was required to establish the management district plan, which provides the framework for TBID's operations, and council would be required to approve any changes to that management district plan. That's sort of the guiding document. And every year, the Owners Association is required to submit an annual report to council for approval, which is why we're here tonight. That annual report is required to report on the previous year's activities, the budget and activities planned for the following year, and then council may either approve the annual report as submitted or has the option to initiate a process, which is a rather lengthy process, which would involve public notification, hearing, and adopting a resolution if you choose to make any modifications to the report as submitted. The budget process, just a quick overview for TBID. The management district plan, which is established for the full 5 years, provides a broad roadmap for budget allocations and the types of activities or investments that the TBID committee can make. It has sort of a long laundry list of activities that could take place. And the way that management district plan is set up for the Truckee TBID is administration, collections, and contingency together account for 12%, and then the remainder, 88%, is all together in one bucket of sales and marketing, which gives flexibility on each year determining how that money will be allocated. Each year, the management committee, which is the advisory committee to the chamber board, considers how to allocate sales and marketing budget into various subcategories. And the committee recommends a draft budget to the chamber board for approval. The annual report, which is why we're here tonight, is council's opportunity to approve or weigh in on the programs proposed for the following year. So we're now 3 years into this 5-year TBID term, and from staff's perspective, TBID is still working through sort of startup mode with substantial time by chamber staff and TBID committee members, which has gone into considering, testing, and adapting potential projects and strategies. Colleen will share with you some great successes they've had and some other things that they've been working on and sort of trying to adapt over the course of the past few years. And from staff's perspective, the TBID committee is still sort of trying to find that secret sauce or the perfect mix of programs that will significantly help move the needle on tourism and visitation in Truckee. At this point, we're seeing increases in marketing activities and visibility for Truckee as a destination, but measurable outcomes have been somewhat modest. And for example, of a measurable outcome would be a noticeable decrease in shoulder season vacancy rates or noticeable increase in midweek stays during slower points in the season. This is something that both the Chamber of Commerce and the town will want to keep an eye on over the next 2 years as we get closer to the expiration of the current TBID term, which again is at the end of September 2020. So with that, our recommendation tonight is to approve the TBID annual report as filed. And I'd like to introduce Colleen Dalton, who's the Brand Communications Director with the Truckee Chamber of Commerce, to share more details about what they've been up to.
Thank you, Hillary. Is this on? Thanks, Hillary. The PowerPoint up. Good evening, council, mayor, staff, and the A-team. All right, so that was the download. What we're here to do tonight is to take a look at the budget for this we're entering our 4th year and for your approval. Let's see. All right, just to comment on the economic impact of tourism for Nevada County overall. We're seeing strong health, 5% increase in visitor spending for the county. Tourism supported 6% growth in jobs, and we generated $12.5 million in revenue. Now, that's for the county. It's a Visit California report. But again, not to forget the value of tourism as the backbone of our economy. We thought it might be interesting for you to know about the trends of T-bids in California. When we started this process, we were about 61 tourism improvement districts. We're now up to about 101, 39 counties, 67% of the state. And Truckee is just below the median, the median is $950K a year. We're just below the median at $620K, which is town's forecast. But we really feel like in a normal year, it would be much higher than that. And in our backyard, NLTRA and Squaw Valley are pursuing their own T-bids. So T-bids are the norm and not the exception any longer. For a dedicated tourism fund directed by those who are most impacted by the ROI of those funds. So since T-bid inception, what are the revenue trends? And to be honest, the jury's out. And why is that? If we look on the far right, 15-16 doesn't really count because we're halfway through the year. The next year was the big winter. The following year, we had a very late winter start. And I can't understate how critical weather impacts revenue for our hospitality industry. We could dance till the cows come home, but if it's all about the weather. Lots of things are in our control, such as marketing, PR, events, lots of things not in our control. The good news is those graphs aren't shorter. I'm not going to go through this in detail as Hillary did a good job with that, but part of the requirement is to report as our surplus, yes. It's 7,332 and 611. And that is combined with the 88% that is required from the assessment for a total of 1278211 for this year. So what are our T-bids missions and goals? Well, frankly, to broaden the appeal of Truckee, which is a very broad statement, the brand, increase the average daily rate and occupancy rate year-round in order to raise TOT. And our goals are to generate revenue, collaborate with town to increase compliance, and create benchmarks for success. How do we do that? We function as a DMO. We continue to invest in our visitor databases because those will never go away. We target direct flights in peak seasons. We target the drive market in shoulder seasons. We increase our average length of stay, and we reward and incentivize Sunday through Thursday travel. So what were the results last year? I know you've seen a lot of these dazzling numbers, but it can't express enough how a dedicated marketing budget for tourism to Truckee really moves the needle. All of this traffic, including the California Welcome Center, are all people considering Truckee, coming to Truckee, telling their friends about Truckee. So it's all about reach, frequency, and scale. So what's the budget in dollars? It's $1,278,211. And how do we get to that? This is the breakdown of the activities on the left-hand side, just pointing out to you some of the larger amounts dedicated to events, marketing and PR, and venue development. And we'll talk about that in a second. In percentages, you can see those differences, and in the pretty pie chart. So on the right, you can see the shrinking of marketing and PR, a cutting back on events, and then a very large new portion allocated to venues. So what is the difference? What did we learn as we enter fiscal year 4? Truckee truly needs an event venue. New events take time, years, and expertise. We need to leverage existing events into travel themes. Marketing PR is very effective, but let's work more on the brand and less down in the funnel towards conversion, buy, and raise higher up in the funnel. Community relations with our 915 on average quarterly nightly homeowners is critical. Everyone needs to know they're getting benefits from the assessment. And research and metrics are a must-have. We have very outdated visitation and economic impact studies. We need an economic impact study for Truckee as opposed to the county. That would be very different. And of course, the website and tech is always, we need to keep up with that. Here's a few pretty pictures about some of the venues we've been discussing. Ball fields, community pavilion, taking a very close look at trail signage and wayfinding. But last but not least, we don't want to forget all of our messaging must be around our 5 travel themes. And we've really honed it down to Truckee. We all know Base Camp for a Big Life, but when we take content and video and text and articles and experiences, we are an adventure base camp. We have world-class trails and slopes, incredible cuisine, breweries and markets, entertainment and mountain culture, and we are an active families base camp. And a lot of those reasons to come are not based on snow. A couple of some themes, travel. We also, the committee really liked a wellness message. So Truckee is a vacation destination for wellness, health, and connection in an alpine setting. Expand your mind, try new adventures, give the gift of time, flow in nature, relax, connect with family and friends. Again, creating and really curating and nurturing reasons to come other than snow. So just a reminder who's on the TBID committee. Tonight we have Jim Winterberger joining us of Tahoe Getaways and John Borden. Thank you, gentlemen. And the other requirement of the report is, are there any boundary changes? There are none. The method and basis of levying assessment has not changed. And tonight we're looking at a budget approval requested for this fiscal year. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions from the dais? And please specify whether you think it goes to Colleen or to Hillary. Martin?
One of the things I wanted to ask, a few on here in no particular order. So what's the relationship between the TBID and the chamber in terms of things like the website and the Welcome Center? Is TBID money going towards funding the website, supporting it, and then when we report back on metrics, obviously we have a Truckee.com website and marketing that happens. How much of that is attributed to the TBID?
How much do they pay?
Yeah, and how do you kind of keep track of who's putting what effort out there?
Yeah. The TBID budget is debited 25% for the website, and we put a lot of time and effort on the events section and lodging. It's really those 2 areas. And then as far as Welcome Center, they don't pay any of that. That's pure town funding. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in the staff report, you didn't touch on it, but there's something about the earned media, some of the media articles about Truckee.
Yeah.
And again, is it helpful to credit sort of whose budget that work is coming out of that helps make that happen?
That PR budget last year was purely TBID that generated that media value, yeah. And it's quite significant change from the year prior. So we have a PR agency, JVP Communications. And we happen to win a lot of awards in that fiscal year. So they really added up. A post on NBC is very valuable. So.
Gotcha. This is slightly more of I know very little about marketing. Is it, if you're going to spend money to try and get visitors to come to Truckee in the high seasons or in the off seasons, which one has a better conversion rate? I mean, if your metric is purely, I want to market and get more heads in beds, are we going against the grain a little bit by trying to really use marketing to get people here in the off season?
That's a multi-layered question.
Sorry.
Let me see. So we're seeking to increase length of stay, and the prospects who will do that the most are national or long haul direct flight. So we target direct flight cities like Chicago or even Austin to come here because they're going to stay longer and they're going to bring their family, and that's very productive for the whole town because they're going to get restaurants and shopping. That works well in peak season. They're not going to come so much shoulder season. Then you're targeting the regional drive market, the Foothill, Sacramento, Bay Area, Northern Nevada. So if we didn't rattle their cages, as you'd say, would they still come? I don't know. I have seen many advertising studies. I think Julie Maurer gave you guys one a few years ago. I don't think you were here yet. That shows what happens when you stop advertising, and it could be very serious. Lynn, you probably remember that study. Yeah.
And I don't think we covered it, but what would you say the biggest successes of the T-bid have been so far?
I'd say really forming as a team, and after quite some storming and norming and all that good stuff, and then seeing the ROI and trusting the process. So trusting that what we introduced in year one as quickly as we could saw immediate conversion and ROI, and that we knew what we were doing. And entering year two, they trusted us to continue that process and again deliver high ROI. I would say just that the savviness and wisdom to recognize that events is not going to be it, and we had some roadblocks to that, and they came up with a creative solution, a win-win community solution, visitation solution with how do we invest in or support a venue feasibility that helps the entire town. So having that maturity to make those decisions and not to haste in the spending of the budget, which has happened in many T-bids. And I think Juan Huaca, who's from Best Western on the committee, has seen other T-bids around the state, and I think he appreciates and values the thoughtfulness and the pace to not just spend it all. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that T-bid's in a position right now with a good amount of funding to really make an impact and help get something created here in Truckee that would be a nice legacy. And we're not looking at a sunset, we're looking at decades to come for this T-bid.
And what is the venue? Has the T-bid committed to any amount of funding for the venue development?
They have supported $50K investment in a feasibility study for the community pavilion, and that's still in progress. And they also just recently decided to give Heidi money towards the monument in that pavilion as well, although that didn't quite meet their venue requirements. They saw that as a really important amenity to the town and the visitor experience, so they did sponsor that as well in $5K.
Great. I think that's all for now.
David?
Yeah, thank you, Colleen, for the overview. I found the report to be very interesting and appreciated the wealth of information there. A couple of questions. I wanted to ask about research and metrics a little bit more. I agree with the need to really thoroughly understand the impacts and what it's meaning to our community, everything from our occupancy rates and our lodging to our average daily rates and those kinds of things. The budget line item for research and metrics struck me as low based on what you were talking about doing, an economic impact analysis. Could you comment on that?
Very good observation. It is low. Therefore, we're looking, in fact, next month at investing in an economic impact study and a visitation study and spreading out the costs over 2 years, because it wouldn't cover it in 1 year. I'm sure you know that. So okay. It was low. Yeah.
All righty. And then, I also just wanted to commend the T-bid committee on the success of some really great events this past year. I think about the Sagan Fondo, which I thought was terrific. And I believe it's coming back again next year. And
already committed, yep.
Yeah, so events like that I think are great for our region. They really help to showcase what we're all about, sporting and so forth. Could you also talk a little bit about some of the challenges that were experienced in pursuing some events that didn't really pan out?
Well, one was rather unusual. We had TP decided to sponsor a Night in the Country, which is a very successful, large event. We had much support from Chief Leftwich. We had many meetings, and just a rather unusual situation where the Boys and Girls Club of Northlake opposed it, and they're due to concern about confusion in the marketplace about sponsorship of the event or of the new facility. And the Night in the Country just took the high road and said, thank you, we really would love to be in Truckee, but we're concerned about this at a national level. So that was a bummer. That was a really going to be a great event.
So that was the main one, though?
I think it's very unusual one.
Right.
Other things are, we are wooing promoters. We are wooing top tier promoters to bring their acts to Truckee. So are we Are we buttoned up? Are we good? Is the space there? Is the parking there? Are we event friendly? So, we dedicated someone to that part-time for a year, and we learned a lot, and it really just boils down to, I think Carlos Perez of Bike Monkey that did Sagan Fondo did a fantastic job. Why? Because he's very experienced.
Right.
So really, truly experienced event producers and promoters know how to communicate with the town, and they know the roadblocks, the digital signage. And he's a top-tier producer too, so we're really lucky to have him. So I think that's the learning is not fuss around too much with middle-sized events. They're just not going to bring the pull. I would say Crawthall was also tremendously successful from a programming perspective and as a year one seed event that is going to take time to really get traction with a market, a database, awareness of Truckee. And again, the travel themes, cuisine and breweries is one of our travel themes, so that's going to fall very well with that in that time of year. And then Sagan Fondo falls very well in world-class trails. So everything we do is around one of those 5 travel themes because we're reinforcing the brand experience. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll open this for public comment. You're going to have to share your podium.
Good evening, Carmen Carr. I had the great opportunity to actually attend the recent board meeting of the Tidbit, and it was very educational to me the way they utilize critical thinking of making sure that whatever they approve, how does it affect their budget and how does it affect the community? Is it really going to be bringing the heads into the beds? And how will the community respond to it too? So I'm really favorable of the work they do, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Rory O'Farrell, Truckee Tahoe Community Television, and I would encourage the committee when they're looking for to partner with eager micro-influencers specializing in Truckee content, that the only local television stations are right here. We have a new studio in the West Wing at Truckee High, and we're waiting your call.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comment. Deliberations, discussions, acceptance, approval, whatever you'd like to call it.
So we're at 3 years in. I guess we have an annual report next year, probably about this time. I think it was a sort of a fall thing. And then the next major council decision would be 2 years from now. I think it was a question for Hillary. And that would be that's sort of a council would reauthorize.
Yes, any reauthorization would be 2 years from now. Presumably, the expiration is September 30th, so it would be at least a bit before that, so that there wouldn't be a gap. There would likely be an interim decision to have to make for the council of, is this something that the council is interested in pursuing. If council doesn't intend to reauthorize, then the chamber and the TBID committee, they have significant hoops to jump through to go back to assess properties and get that approval. So we'd need to make a decision on the council side if that's something that council's in favor of before they go out and do that work. If that makes sense.
The work of
getting a vote of all the assessed properties to make sure that there's still support.
Because in order for the TBID to be authorized, both the council and the properties have to
correct
essentially approve. Great. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just as far as comments go, having attended a number of the TBID meetings, and also just full disclosure, Jim Wernerberger as the chair here has donated to my reelection campaign. Thank you. I have been impressed at the conversation and the thinking, like Carmen said, about what is the right use of this money and not just let's go spend it, which I think there were certainly some fears about. And I think I'm excited to see where we go in the next couple of years and what the focus on venue development turns into, and particularly on that, I think we're heading in that direction, but looking for those synergies between what makes the experience for visitors better and also helps the community. I think that, finding areas where those are the same thing, as opposed to saying, yeah, we should do both of those things. And the pavilion obviously is a huge, directly in that bullseye. So I'm very excited to see that. But yeah, I think that I really want to commend the group and commend the chamber for a lot of work on this. And thank you for the report.
Do we have a motion to accept the report?
I'll move that we accept the report from the Truckee Tourism Business Improvement District.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You're accepted. Okay. Our next item is amending Chapter 1.02 of the Municipal Code regarding recovery of code enforcement costs and initiation of legal action on behalf of the town. And I believe that Mr. Morris is going to field this one. Hey, boy.
Man, there's nothing more exciting than a little housekeeping Muni Code update. This is really simple, so I'll make it quick. The municipal code currently says that if the town initiates litigation against somebody in a code enforcement context, that if we win, we get to recover our attorney's fees, which is fine, except that the law has been for 21 years now that it has to go both ways. That if we lose, we're subject to paying the other side's attorney's fees, or we can opt not to seek attorney's fees. Anyway, we haven't ever updated the code because we don't really file suit against a lot of people, but just in case we decide to, we thought maybe the code should reflect the law. Also, the code does not currently specifically say that staff or the five of you can direct me to file litigation on behalf of the town, and it seems like a useful thing to have. So this ordinance does those things. It says that I can sue people if you tell me to, and it says that we will follow the law about attorney's fees. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to clarify.
Any questions? Okay, then we'll open this to public comment. And we'll close public comment. Action.
I would move item 7.2, amending Chapter 1.02 of the Municipal Code regarding recovery of code enforcement costs and initiation of legal action on behalf of the town.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, council reports. David, we'll start with you.
Okay. I attended, along with Jeff and Mayor D, the Talk of the Town on September 26th at Dark Horse Coffee Roasters. Also attended the West Wing dedication at Truckee High School. Jeff was there and Mayor D. On September 27th. And then came to this chamber on October 3rd and saw our council candidates speak, along with other candidates for other special districts. And then attended a meeting last week on the 4th, along with Jeff and Morgan, to discuss green energy rates with the Truckee Donner PUD.
Jessica?
I attended a tour of the Kids Zone Museum, which had been in my calendar for quite some time. Unfortunately, it was the same exact time as the West Wing dedication of the high school, so I was sad to miss that one. And that's all I have to report.
Morgan?
Along with David and Jeff, attended, talked with the PUD staff about the green rate, specifically the rate to purchase 100% clean electricity for the town facilities. I think Jeff said it really well. The deeper you get into this stuff, the more you realize you don't know, and the more fun you can have learning it, if that's how you want to spend your time. No, I learned a lot, and I do think it was a productive meeting. never underestimate the power of just getting in a room together and keep talking and figure out what's really important. Also attended the Business Speaks meeting for businesses located out in the airport area of town. Had a really good discussion. And then last week was a participant in not one but two candidate forums, both over at the Lift and then here.
Patrick?
Just one. Attended the CAT Legal Government Affairs Committee meeting and got a wealth of information from Steve Poncelet from the PUD there on a number of PUD-related and state legislature activities. So it was fairly informative. Steve always is.
You all forgot one. Public finance and infrastructure meeting. Last week.
That was the funnest of them all. How did you?
Except for David. he was excused. The rest of us were there. Yes, you heard I was the talk of the town. The West Wing opening. And then this morning, I had a very interesting teleconference for over an hour with one of the directors of Amtrak. A lot more to come on that, but come the end of this year, and it's one we really need to stay on top of. He approached me, and the reauthorization funding bill will come before Congress starting the end of this year, early next year. It is fairly certain that funding will be cut, and it's not just Truckee, it is nationally. It's the West Coast, East Coast, the Midwest. The Midwest is probably what's hurting more than anything, but it is going to be a big issue for train travel. So I gave him a lot of suggestions. He was taking it back to the regional. Our regional, interestingly, is not in California. They are in Leavenworth, Washington, but this guy, the board member I was talking to, used to be the mayor of a small town in Illinois, 25,000 people. So he is very cognizant of small towns and how dependent they are on public transportation. Very receptive to ideas and discussions, and has promised to stay in touch. He has my home phone number, and we continue this discussion, but we should be aware that ultimately down the road, this is probably going to impact us in some way. As I very strongly closed our conversation with, to get from the Bay Area to the heart of the country, you must go through Truckee. There is no reason not to stop. So we are going to push hard, and I know the town will continue to participate and push hard, but train travel is going to be high on our agenda, I think, as the federal government, the state government, and our own government and our priorities for sustainability and dealing with greenhouse gases becomes more and more important and more mandated by our federal government. We are going to need public assistance, and public transportation is one of those. And everybody admits it needs subsidy, but nobody wants to pay the subsidy. So that was our conversation, and we will continue talking. On that, this body will move to closed session. Back room, front room.